Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. Chapter 13, The Very Secret Diary. Perhaps the Harrow slithering has lost his or her nerve, though Harry, it must be getting riskier and riskier to open the Chamber of Secrets, with the school so alert and suspicious. Perhaps the monster, whatever it was even now setting his itself down to hibernate for another 50 years. Ernie Macmillan of Hufflepuff didn't take this cheerful view. He was still convinced that Harry was the guilty one, that he had given himself away at the dueling club. Peeves wasn't helping matters. He kept popping up in the crowded corridor singing, "Oh, Potter, you rotter," not with a dance routine to match. Gilderoy Lockhart seemed to think he himself had made the attack stop. Harry overheard him telling Professor McGonagall so why the Gryffindors were lighting to Transfiguration. "I don't think there'll be any more trouble, Minerva," he said, tapping his nose knowingly and winking. "I think the chamber had been locked for good this time. The culprit must have known it was only a matter of time before I caught them. Rather sensible to stop now, before I came down hard on them. You know, what the school needs now is a moral booster. Wash away the memories of lost term. It won't last any more just now, but I think you're just the thing." He tapped his nose again and strode off. Lockhart's idea of moral booster became clear at breakfast time on February the 14th. Harry hadn't much time to sleep because of a late running Quidditch practice the night before, and he hurried down to the Great Hall slightly late. He thought for a moment that he'd walked through the wrong doors. The walls were all covered with large, lyric pink flowers, where still heart-shaped confetti was still falling from the pale blue ceiling. Harry went over to the Gryffindor table where Ron was sitting, looking sickened, and Hermione seemed to have come over rather giggly. "What's going on?" Harry asked them, sitting down and wiping confetti off his bacon. One pointed to the teacher's table, apparently too disgusted to speak. Lockhart, wearing lurid pink robes to match the decorations, was swearing for silence. The teachers on either side of him were looking stony-faced. From where he sat, Harry could see a muscle going in Professor McGonagall's cheek. Snape looked as though someone had just fed him a large beaker of Scalago. "Happy Valentine's Day!" Lockhart shouted. "And I thank the 46 people who have so far sent me cards. Yes, I have taken away the liberty of arranging this little surprise for you all, and it doesn't end here." Lockhart clapped his hands, and through the doors to the entrance hall marched a dozen surly-looking dwarfs. Not just any dwarfs, however. Lockhart had them all wearing golden wings and carrying harps. "My friendly card-having cupids," beamed Lockhart. "They will be roaming around the school today delivering you valentines, and the fun doesn't stop here. I'm sure my colleagues will want to enter into the spirit of the occasion. Why not ask Professor Snape to show you how to whip up a love potion? And while you're at it, Professor Flitwick knows more about entrancing enchantments than any wizard I've ever met. The sky old dog." Professor Flitwick buried his face in his hands. Snape was looking as though the first person to ask him for a love potion would be force-fed potion. "Please, Hermione, tell me you weren't one of the 46, said Ron as they left the Great Hall for their first lesson. Hermione suddenly became very interested in searching her bag for her timetable and didn't answer. All day long, the dwarves kept barricading into their classes to deliver valentines, to the annoyance of the teachers. And late that afternoon, as the Gryffindors were walking upstairs for charms, one of them caught up with Harry. "Oh, you, Harry Potter!" shouted a particularly grim-looking dwarf, elbowing people off the way to get at Harry. Hot all over the thought of being given a valentine in front of a queue of first-years, which happened to include Ginny Weasley, Harry tried to escape. The dwarf, however, cut his way through the crowd by kicking people's chins, and reached him before he'd gone 2 paces. "I've got a musical message to deliver to Harry Potter in person," he said, twangling his harp in a threatening sort of way. "Not here!" Harry hissed, trying to escape. "Stay still," grunted the dwarf, grabbing hold of Harry's bag and pulling him back. "Let me go!" Harry snarled, tugging. With a loud ripping noise, this bag split in two. His books, wands, parchment, and quill spilled onto the floor, and the ink bottle smashed over the lot. Harry scrambled around, trying to pick it up all before the dwarf started singing, causing something of a hold-up in the corridor. "What's going on here?" came the cold, drawling voice of Draco Malfoy. Harry started stuffing everything feverishly into his ripped bag, desperate to get away before Malfoy could hear this musical valentine. "What's all this commotion?" said another familiar voice, as Percy Weasley arrived. Losing his head, Harry tried to make a run for it, but the dwarf seized him around the knees and brought him crashing to the floor. "Right," he said, sitting on Harry's ankles. "Here is the singing valentine. His eyes are as green as a fresh pickled toad. His hair is as dark as a blackboard. I wish he was mine. He's really divine. The hero who conquered the Dark Lord." Harry would have given all the gold and Gringotts to evaporate off the spot. Trying vainly to laugh along with everyone else, he got up, his feet numb for the weight of the dwarf. As Percy Weasley did his best to dispel the crowd, some of whom were crying with mirth. Off you go, the bell rang 5 minutes ago, off to class now," he said, shooting some of the younger students away. "And you, Malfoy." Harry glancing over saw Malfoy swoop and snatch up something. Leaving, he showed it to Crabbe and Goyle, and Harry realized that he'd got Riddle's diary. "Give it back," Harry said quietly. "What's Potter written in this?" said Malfoy, who obviously hadn't noticed the year on the cover, and thought he had Harry's own diary. A hush fell over the bookers. Ginny was staring from the diary to Harry, looking terrified. "Hang it up, Malfoy," said Percy sternly. "When I've had a look," said Malfoy, waving the diary eternally at Harry. Percy said as a school prefect that Harry had lost his temper. He pulled out his wand and shouted, "Expelliarmus!" Just as Snape had disemboweled, so Malfoy found the diary shooting out of his hand into the air. Ron, grinning broadly, caught it. "Harry!" said Percy loudly. "No magic in the corridors. I'll have to report this, you know." But Harry didn't care. He got one of the Malfoy, and that was worth 5 points from Gryffindor any day. Malfoy was looking furious, and as Ginny passed him to enter her classroom, he yelled pitifully after her, "I don't think Potter liked your Valentine much." Ginny covered her face with her hands and ran into class. Snarling, Ron pulled out his wand too, but Harry pulled him away. Ron didn't need to spend the whole chance being belching slugs. It was until they had reached Professor Flitwick's class that Harry noticed something rather odd about Riddle's diary. All his other books were drenched in scarlet ink. The diary, however, was as clean as it had been before. The ink bottle had smashed all over it. He tried to point this out to Ron, but Ron having trouble with his wand. Again, large purple bottles were blossoming out of the end, and he wasn't much interested in anything else. Harry went to bed before anyone else in his dormitory that night. This was partly because he didn't think he could stand up Fred and George singing, "His eyes are green as a fresh pickled toad," one more time, and partly because he wanted to examine Riddle's diary. Again, he knew that Ron thought he was wasting his time. Harry and his four-poster and flipped through the blank pages, not one on which had a trace of scarlet ink in it. And he pulled a new bottle off his bedside cabinet, dipped his quill into it, and dropped a blot onto the first page of diary. The ink shone brightly on the paper for a second, and then, as though it was being sucked into the page, vanished. Excited, Harry loaded up his quill and second time and wrote, My name is Harry Potter." The words shone momentarily on the page, and they too sang without trace. Then at last something happened. Oozing back out of page in his very own ink came words Harry had never written. "Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom Riddle. How did you come by my diary?" These words too faded away, but not before Harry had started to scribble back. Someone tried to flush it down a toilet. He waited eagerly for Riddle's reply. "Lucky that I recorded my memories in some more lasting way than an ink. But I always knew that there would be those who would not want this diary read." "What do you mean?" Harry scrawled, bolting the page in his excitement. "I mean that this diary holds memories of terrible things, things which were covered up, things which happened at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry." "That's where I am now," so Harry got quickly. "I'm at Hogwarts and horrible stuff's been happening. Do you know anything about the Chamber of Secrets?" His heart was hammering. Riddle's reply came quickly, his writing becoming untidier, as though he was hurrying to tell all he knew. Of course I know about the Chamber of Secrets. In my day, they told us it was a legend, that it did not exist. But this was a lie. In my 5th year, the chamber was opened and a monster attacked several students, finally killing one. A good person had opened the chamber and he was expelled. But the headmaster, Professor Dippet, ashamed that such a thing had happened at Hogwarts, forbade me to tell the truth. A story was given out that the girl had died in a freak accident. They gave me a nice, shiny, engraved trophy for my trouble and warned me to keep my mouth shut. But I knew it would happen again. The monster lived on, and the other had power to release it was not imprisoned. Harley neatly upset his ink bottle in his hurry to write back.
Наверх бігом.